We have a very amazing, exciting panel this morning talking all about strategies to build security awareness culture. And I'm going to be honest, we have 30 minutes for this keynote, and I have 5 questions to get through. So we're going to try to go as deep as we can. And if you want to learn more from any of my speakers up here, feel free to find them after. So very quick introductions from my people. In case you don't know me, I'm Hannah. I'm a cybersecurity analyst from Southwest Airlines. I've been in the industry for 3 years now. And I lead the simulated phishing program, but I also lead engagement. So every event that happens at my business, I also do a lot of K through 12 work. I do a lot of station visits. Those are when I visit my airports, and a lot of miscellaneous things. I do a lot of creative solutions as well. So building posters and videos and all of that stuff. So I got my hands on a lot of different things, but I'm going to pass it over to Wendy.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. I'm Wendy Battles. I am the Cybersecurity Awareness Advisor at Yale University, where I manage our awareness program and do a whole bunch of different stuff. Some of the things that you just mentioned, running, our program and trying to be creative about it. My background is in organizational change management. I was doing that for about 25 years before I moved over to security about 5 years ago. So I get to apply so many of the things that I talked about yesterday to the work I do in security.
Thanks, you. So my name is Tom McMahon. I work for Lowe's, which is a home improvement retailer. There's a clap. I heard it. Fantastic. Fantastic. So I've been in cybersecurity for nearly 20 years, doing all various and different roles, but security awareness training and helping that aha moment for people, that's my favorite. That's what I love to do the most. And it's really a joy to be a part of that and a part of all you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Alison Harrington. I'm the Global Head of Cybersecurity Education Awareness at HSBC. If you don't know HSBC, it is a gigantic, super old British bank. We've got about 250,000 colleagues, 57 countries, and about 2,000 folks working in cyber. So pretty fun. You go. This one? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Irene, and I started my career in cybersecurity 7 years ago. I'm still here because I really love this area. Now I'm working at KONE, that it's a company, a manufacturing company, that it's elevators and escalators company based in Finland. I am the cybersecurity competence and culture manager at KONE, leading the global cybersecurity culture. Yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for being on this panel. So exciting. Some of their faces probably look familiar if you were down here. Irene and Wendy gave a talk yesterday, and I hope you stick around because Alison has a talk today. So we are going to go a little bit deeper about what y'all talked about. So our very first question, how do you define your desired culture you wanted to build? Did you set different cultural goals for different teams, departments, geographic regions? And I'm going to pass that question over to Thomas first.
Thank you. So I was thinking about this question. What I really wanted to say is this, and I'd like you to, this is going to be a little interesting, but I want you to repeat after me for a second. Say, I cannot change culture alone. It's not a one-person thing. This is a huge thing. And you can't do it all by yourself. And the number one thing you need to do to start with this is understand the reputation that your cybersecurity organization has in your organization. What do your people think of cybersecurity and your information security group? You need to find that out first, because you can't change culture with a company if they don't trust that team. So that's the first thing you need to do, is understand how they see that team. And if that team needs to change and understand, change that perception, that's the first thing that you need to do out the door. Change that perception. And you do that by organizing, and again, you can't do this alone, by making sure that the goals of the information security group or your cybersecurity team align with the actual company and what the company is trying to do, right? My goal isn't to make the company secure. My goal is to help the company sell widgets or do healthcare or help people. That's number one. Once you do that, then you can assess the company goal, and you can assign the culture and do some surveys and figure out what your culture looks like and make those changes. But you've got to work with that team first.
Wow, thank you, Tom. Really good. I'm gonna take that home. I'm coming out with a lot of mantras today, or like even yesterday too. A lot of one-liners. Really good. Irene, do you want to elaborate some more from your perspective?
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree that we need to build cybersecurity not alone, like with like together. But in my case, I think that that's something that I want to add that cybersecurity culture that I want to build is one that goes beyond the corporate. So I enjoy working in cybersecurity awareness because I feel that my work truly impact the people that I work with. So every time that I'm working in a cybersecurity culture program or a strategy, I always aim to go beyond the corporate goals. So I really want to build something useful and helpful for the people that I work with. So the tools or the cybersecurity content or initiatives that they are receiving, they can take it in their personal lives and then make an impact in their professional, personal lives, and they can take that knowledge to their family, their friends, their children. So to make an impact also, not only in my company, but also in the society. So that's something that I really like working in cybersecurity, and it's that kind of culture that I want to build. That for sure, as I explained yesterday in my presentation, we segment by regions, by country, by roles, and by cultural maturity levels. But we try to embed the cybersecurity culture in their daily workflow, so to make cybersecurity relevant without friction, and then to make an impact in their daily life, not only at work, but it is possible also in their personal lives.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think when I come across an employee that might not want to like cyber, like they're a little opposed to it, the moment that I bring their family, their kids, like I'm teaching you so that you could be safe at home, it changes their minds and it makes them be like, oh, this isn't just about work, it's about me and my life. So thank you both so much. On to our next question. How do you assess the current state of your organization? Do you conduct any research, any reconnaissance to inform your understanding? And I want to pass that to you first, Wendy.
Thank you. So we do a lot of assessment around our culture. And, when I was speaking yesterday, I was talking about what you were saying, Tom, about how at the beginning to get a baseline, we did focus groups, we did a survey, we tried to really understand because we didn't have a good reputation. But the question then gets to be, when you do get a baseline, how do you build on that? And how do you know you're actually making progress toward some cultural shifts, and goals? And one thing that we have done, I will say in fits and starts, there's always continuous improvement, is that we've done an annual survey of our security culture. We have something every January we call New Year, New You. So a chance for people to refresh their cyber habits at the beginning of the new year. And a couple years ago, we did a survey and we tied it to, if you complete this survey, so we sent out a campus-wide email, if you complete this survey, you'll be entered to win. And then we give away, a bunch of stuff, maybe to 50 people randomly, to incentivize people, because many of you know that people just aren't that into completing surveys.
Not at all.
I wish they were. I wish it was much easier to get people to respond. So we probably had like 400 people that responded, which for us was, I thought, pretty good. It gave us a pretty good baseline. But, looking back, I don't think we asked the best questions. They were okay. But I think because we all have each other, we're in different groups. One of the groups that I'm in is through an organization called EDUCAUSE, which is for higher education institutions. We have an awareness community group where we have a monthly meeting, and that's why we should go to this stuff. And at this meeting, sometime last year, someone from NYU had a culture survey. We like to steal ideas from other people because it's important, right? We can take ideas and then make them our own. So in this case, she shared the survey and it was really spot on. I mean, it wasn't exactly the questions. It wasn't exactly the questions that we would be asking, but we're able to, Yale-ize it for our use, but the questions were so good about culture, and that was really helpful. Now, the thing I will tell you is that we didn't have any incentive this year when we did the survey, so we didn't even have a lot of people that filled the survey out. So part of what I think culture is figuring out how do you get the information you need. How can you appeal to people in different ways? It's always about continuous improvement. So now my thought is we could use the same questions next year because they were really spot on questions, but perhaps have different approaches to garner some of the information. So, and the one other thing I want to say about this just overall around culture change is that we need to all go a little easier on ourselves, because I think there's this sense that I want to just come in and I want to change things, or I want to see improvements right away. Just like I want to get in shape right away and look great. But of course, you know how it is. It takes a lot of work. If you really, really want to get fit, it takes a lot of work and effort and commitment. And it's the same thing with changing the culture. They say it takes between 3 and 10 years to change an organizational culture. Now, some of us get here and we aren't going to be here that long to even see the results. So I think we have to remember that it's important to plant those seeds in a way that works in your culture and feed those seeds, water them, and be patient and doing the things we need to do to see them grow. We weed our garden, we do all the things we do to make something flourish. And I think it's the same way with culture. We have to feed it, care for it, help it thrive, and that takes time.
I completely agree. Interested to talk to you more about focus groups. I think that's a little thing floating around that we all kind of want to do, don't always know how to execute it. So meet the people where they're at.
Meet the people where they're at. And I
Meet the
think
people where
focus
they're
groups are a great way to get a deeper dive
Yes.
into what people are thinking.
All right, Thomas, you want to elaborate from your perspective?
From my perspective, yes. So our team, our information security group team, looked at our organization, and we don't necessarily want to secure our organization. And I don't remember who mentioned it yesterday, but somebody mentioned yesterday, what we want to do is manage risk, right? Every business needs risk in order to move forward, to grow, so what we want to do is manage that risk and make sure that risk is effective. So what our organization has done is we've actually created a technology risk scorecard across the enterprise. So any of the technology SVPs or VPs can actually look at their scorecard and determine where they are and where they can help to reduce risk in the organization. Now that scorecard includes things like compliance findings and those, like assets that are on inventory, like the servers, like our network diagrams. It includes a security awareness piece, but it has a whole list of things to it. And you may be thinking, well, that's all technology. How does it change culture? Well, every one of those things can only change if a person does something to change it. And that helps change the culture in the organization. Even though we're measuring technology, that technology has to support our business, and our business culture will change, and our managing risk will change by how those SVPs and VPs see that scorecard and how they help to reduce that risk to the organization.
Thank you so much. All right. On to our third question. How do you maintain and sustain a strong culture over time? And I did put a little caveat in here for large organizations. How do we stay asynchronous? My company has 100,000 people. I'm one person. I can't talk to 100,000 people every year, right? So I'm going to pass that question over to Alison first, who you heard has a very large organization. So what do you do?
A couple of things. So it's really about experimentation for me. And there's a couple different ways we do that. And first and foremost, you really need to understand your organization. So we're all in different industries in here. We all have different organizational sizes. We're still going to have different business lines. We're going to have different kind of countries or regional setups. We're going to have different kind of vendor relationships and status of employees. You need to understand that in a matrix model and understand pockets, because culture isn't one monolithic entity. It's pockets that you find across different places. And within that, you're going to find supporters, you're going to find detractors, people that either help spread your culture or inhibit it. And understanding that from a heat map perspective is step one. And then step two for me, as I mentioned, is experimentation. If you're not running at least 3 to 4 POCs, proofs of concepts in a year, I don't think you're experimenting nearly as enough as you need to. So for example, In Taiwan, they have a regulatory requirement for at least 12 phishing simulations a year. So that means our team there has really, really a hard time making advanced, mature phishing simulations because they have much, much better click rates than other places. Other countries like India, for example, they have a monthly awareness requirement. So we actually send out monthly pieces that we have to localize to kind of different incidents and different cultural insights that helps keep people on their toes. And I have to say too, on this question here, a really important partner of mine within the bank is our cyber intelligence team. And hopefully lots of you guys also have an intelligence team in-house that you work with. If not, hopefully you have a vendor where you get those intelligence reports. If you don't, you need to get one immediately because it's critical to messaging on your program to tie awareness to tangible risks that are affecting organizations across the landscape. And that helps you with this continuous loop and this continuous improvement loop so that you're not just kind of spreading funsy, cool to know knowledge or risks without context, but like, hey, we asked you to do a thing, and this is what happens when you don't do that thing. So please help us help you by following this continuous loop, and then it helps our culture kind of reinvent itself on a regular basis.
Incredible. Follow-up question that we cannot get into today, but let's talk about it in Slack. So my people online, start the conversation. You say experimentation. I think we all in here want to experiment. Like we really are on the frontier of this industry and we want to try so many things, but I think leadership's scared of that. And they, some of the things that we might want to experiment might not have a great return on investment, might not have the KPIs that they're looking for. So how do you convince your leadership that it's okay to experiment?
It's a great question.
So we'll talk about it in Slack.
We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it in Slack. Sorry, I'll keep you on your toes. Find us after. All right. Wendy, do you want to talk about this question?
Surely. There are many things that I can say about that, but to try to be brief, I think that engaging our leaders is so key to sustaining a culture over time. People that are invested in that are, whether it's our CISO or CIO, the deputy CISO, whoever the people are who can be front and center. I mean, there's the work that we do, and we're often front and center doing things, but I think that, sometimes you can say something, but then someone else can say it, and it lands differently, people hear it differently. So I think we need to understand who are the people that can bring forward key messages that help us support the culture, to promote the culture, whatever that might be. So I think that's one. I think two is this idea of being intentional about it. Because it's one of those things that's not a keep the lights on thing. Keep the lights on thing is our SOC. It's, it's risk and compliance. It's whatever, vulnerability management, whatever the things are that we need to do to thwart threats, to, pay attention, to do all those things to contain things or so they don't happen. So I think culture sometimes takes a back seat. It's not like people like every day, oh, we need to work on sustaining our culture today. Right? People don't think that. It might be embedded, but it's often not present. So I think that we need to work on that with, just like anything else where we have a strategy, we have to decide to be intentional about creating and sustaining our culture. And that takes a lot of work. So I think what we can do, because we have that, we're wearing that hat, is talk to our leaders about that. Think about how we can seed some of those ideas and messages to make it more present for them and then be more strategic about it. And I just think, like anything else, consistent communication, whatever that means for your organization, it's different for each of us, how we communicate, how things land, but finding a way to talk about it. It isn't like, well, we need to sustain our culture, but there's like backdoor ways to talk about culture that you can embed in the communications that you said. Maybe it's quarterly, but just thinking strategically about when is it that we want to communicate about these things and how might we do that?
Yeah. And just to jump in on that, sorry, it's such a good point, Wendy, because you're right, culture is in the backseat. But again, coming back to these must-have factors in a function like incidents, vulnerability management, if you tie your cultural awareness program to those must-haves, to the latest incidents, to 0 days that come out, you will be able to put culture in the front seat of that car and in the front seat of an organization's mind. So really, I really can't emphasize enough that feedback loop.
Yeah, that was really good. I have to say that just because we talked about leadership here, if you're struggling to start a conversation with leadership, I find that a personal invitation to an event that you're hosting, I've gotten some of like the best results of, I didn't even know this was happening, but because I left a card on their desk or sent them a Teams message and just said how much it would mean to me if they were there, and I only need you for 10 minutes, they show up, they see what we're doing, and then they become invested. So it just that little handout can be the catalyst for starting a larger conversation.
I'll say one more thing too, is that separate from our information security structure, there are leaders at Yale who are such champions of what we do. And I think that sometimes we're very focused on our own organization, but where else in your company, in your organization, are there people that are your cheerleaders? And I don't mean like ambassadors, but I'm talking about leaders who can also bring forward the message in a different way. So almost like culture champions. How can you find culture champions, other people in your organizations that can help with the messaging?
Finding a non-cyber leader to be a champion for you, because I don't know about y'all, but leadership loves it when another leader comes to them and is like, this person did amazing. And they're like, did they? And then you'll have their attention. So, alrighty. Next question. What challenges are you currently facing while trying to improve your culture, and how are you overcoming them? Irene, you want to start?
Yeah, in the case of my company, KONE, as I mentioned yesterday, and just to give you some context again, we have around 60K employees in nearly 70 countries. So we are like not a massive company, but big enough. But our big challenge is that we are very complex in terms of like the organization and the structure of the company. So we are trying to be very creative in how we organize the people and how we reach them and how we segment like the different people and colleagues that work in our company. So we are trying to go beyond like business units or teams or regions, and we are trying to build this persona as I already presented yesterday, but we are still working on it, but I think that the first step is to deeply understand the operational reality of the company. So for me, like the internal chart or like the predefined divisions that you can find like in the intranet, it's aren't enough. So I'm now trying, I have been for 1 year, almost 1 year, trying to understand, like deeply understand like the company. So I have been talking with a lot of people, and introducing myself, introducing like their role, the cybersecurity culture, and then also trying to understand each area, how they work, how they are structured, but based on their day-to-day life, not it's writing on the intranet, for example. So for me, it's I'm trying to overcome this challenge by asking questions, having conversation with a lot of people and working alongside them, truly understand like the internal ecosystem, so then we can really support them and embed the cybersecurity strategy in their daily workflow. But it is still like a challenge that we are still working on it. It's a big one, but for me it's about talk a lot with the people and be there with them and really understand the reality, and then try to bring cybersecurity in their daily lives.
Absolutely. And I think it was Alison who was saying earlier, no, Tom, that it takes a long time. Who said that? Yeah. Wendy said that? I swear I'm paying attention, y'all. I think we think that we can talk to a certain group in 6 months, a year, but especially for us with large organizations, it is a multi-year initiative to just keep the conversation going. Yeah. So I know we just say talking, but continuous reach out, continuous relationship building. It's super important. Alison?
Thank you. So I volunteered for this one because it's a personal journey at the end, and I finally see the light of a very, very dark tunnel that we've been in. So just by a show of hands, who here has heard of co-employment risk? Raise your hands. All right, we've got a good selection of you. So co-employment risk is a legal precedent where we cannot treat contractors like permanent staff, and if so, organizations are liable to be sued by those individuals to give them perm-like benefits. So obviously this affects an organization of all shapes and forms, because a security education and awareness program is really a force multiplier. That's what we do. We're a force multiplier across a bunch of different disciplines to get a behavioral change, to get a cultural change. If you do not have consistency across your organization, that is going to really set you back. And for us at HSBC, obviously we're a huge bank. We have a huge number of contractors. So this was problematic, and it's taken us quite a few years to wrap our heads around it. So what we've done is it's not just the US, there's a whole bunch of other countries that are within kind of this legal remit, Brazil and India probably being the most notable with the kind of the highest legacy of employment tribunals. And what we've done is worked really, really closely with HR, with legal, with employment legal to create a conversation around training and development versus cyber role-based risk. Because every day when someone goes to an organization, you have operational risk from a cyber perspective introduced to what they do as part of their job. And that is incredibly distinct from training and development for professional purposes. So having this conversation, setting up these two risks side by side has been really powerful for us to change organizational fabric to allow for training of non-perms for this very purpose. And when I say training, it's not the same learning management system that the rest of our perms use. It's a segregated environment where we've been able to create a disclaimer, run through tons of legal language, get it translated to local languages. And I'm delighted to say we've got them all on board. Finally, these 20,000 folks that are out there, and we are going to be reaping those benefits. But it's again, it's important from this multiplier angle, but also when you look at those egress points of data from a bank and you're looking at your post-incident reviews, oftentimes contractors are just as much in the mix as perms. So it's really, really important for consistency to make sure they're part of your program. And then you can continue on from there.
Well, congratulations on the big win.
Thank you. Shout out to my team watching virtually.
Congratulations, y'all. That's amazing. Amazing, amazing. All right, we got about 5 minutes left, so we're going to go into our bonus question of today. What metrics do you use for determining how strong your culture is? How do you show value in non-number focused metrics? And before I pass it off, I'm really interested in the second half of this question because, as we all know, phishing, that's what we always go for. But how do you share that you changed somebody's feelings, that the vibe in the room changed after you were there and had the conversation? So Alison said she had a hot take when we were reviewing this question. So I'm going to pass it right back to her to hear that hot take.
Happy to do a hot take. So we do not do profiles, scorecards, and we don't do that for a specific purpose. We do not do it because it is considered behavioral profiling. And I understand that there may be some benefits. A lot of folks think that can be an incentive and drive competition for a lot of folks within an organization. For us, there's risks associated with it. Again, HSBC Global Bank, for anyone who has work in Germany, the Workers' Council specifically prohibits this because it's considered profiling of individuals. So we do not do that. Instead, what we do is focus on some larger metrics. So again, sneaky, what we've done in reference to the last question is include non-perms into some of those big metric counts. So it helps us with that argument and that consistency. And then what we've done for non-number focused metrics is twofold. One, a lot of your organizations will touch ESG. That's the environmental sustainable governance metrics that you have across the board. Those are a wonderful place for qualitative numbers to show how many events you've run, how many briefings you've given, how many client board packs or whatnot you've done. It's a great place to kind of show that almost that soft power, if you will. And then the second thing we've done that you'll hear more about in my talk in a minute, so I won't get too much on my soapbox, but feedback loops. So understanding your end users, your customers, what are they struggling with? What are inhibiting them from getting the job done and seeing that behavior change? Having feedback loops across your program, so be it kind of mandatory training, required training, phishing, you can then take that into your own kind of judgment and understand how you can improve your culture from there.
That's a hot take.
Hot
I
take,
think
yeah.
especially because I'm about to pass it to Tom, who's going to tell you that his is culture
Indeed,
scorecard.
yes. This is why we're sitting next
This
to
is why we're sitting next to each other, so we can talk about a scorecard and not a scorecard. That's fantastic. Because at least in our organizations, a lot of the executives and those leadership levels, they want to see a metric. They want to see what did we do that made that change, right? So, and that was the reason we built the technology risk scorecard, because our information security group, that's what we call ourselves, information security group, we didn't want to be seen as the team of no, N-O, but we wanted to be seen as the team of know, K-N-O-W. We want you to know the risks. We want you to know the impact of those risks. We want you to know what the mitigating strategies are, and we want you to know how your business, how your goal will change when we reduce those risks to your organization, which is the reason why we built the scorecards. We can actually see those risks in place. And again, those risks, I had to write them down because I couldn't remember them all, right? But it's like vulnerability management pieces, it's IAM pieces, and what your password strategy look like. It's our third-party risk management team. So we have so many third parties at Lowe's, you can't even imagine how many that we have. And we all know that sometimes third-party risks can be a major route into your organization. How do we measure those? So it's all a part of this one big scorecard, and any leadership level can look at the scorecard, see where their scores are, and at the bottom is 3 specific things that are, if you improve this metric, you're going to improve your entire scorecard by so much. And the idea is that we work together with them to be that team of know what we're doing, know where we are, know how we can bring our business forward and reduce risk at the same time.
I just have to say the contrast between you two, I think there's more similarities than on the surface. I think for Alison, it can show that if you don't have the time or the resources to do a scorecard, you can still be successful. And then if you have leadership who's super metric focused,
right,
a scorecard is not a bad way to go either. So not to say that one is better over the other, but that you could be successful in both ways.
Agreed, 100% agreed.
So with that, guys, we finished right on time and we got through all our questions.
Boom.
Isn't that so exciting?
It just turned red.
Everybody give it up for my panel.